Hello friends, thank you for joining me again. In this video, we'll be looking at bad arguments made by William Lane Craig. If you think that Bill makes some good or even convincing arguments, be prepared to have that thought dispelled. I personally have a few gripes and groans concerning Bill's arguments and expressions. I will try to make clear and differentiate between what I dislike from bad arguments, if I'm able. The video clips used are from multiple debates where Bill spoke. That's not true. Most of the material for this video with Bill in it is from one debate where he was up against Christopher Hitchens. There was quite a bit of material I could have used, but I got into his first few arguments in this video, and there was way more than enough material, in my opinion, to show how dishonest Bill is with his arguments. Before we get into it, I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to tear down the man. I'm merely trying to show that the way to achieve sound conclusions is not to assume the answer and funnel the questions to reach it. If you like what I do, please leave a comment, thumb me up, and subscribe, and click the little bell to easily find more of my content. Since there is a vast amount of material to choose from, I'm implementing the 3-strike method, which is to say that after 3 strikes, my review of arguments will cease in the current video. Let's get this started.
So, in tonight's debate, I'm going to defend 2 basic contentions. First, that there's no good argument that atheism is true.
Okay, so here Bill is talking about atheism being true and theism being true. Well, they both are true. They are true because people claim to be them. So either they exist or they don't exist. And of course they both exist. Now, to try to change the wording to say that one is correct and the other is not would probably be more accurate. But Bill is really fond of these word games, which is quite dishonest. Maybe that's just how he figured he had to word it in this scenario. I can't see why, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here.
And secondly, that there are good arguments that theism is true.
Concerning the atheism versus theism question, it would be more honest if he were to state that he wishes to prove atheists wrong and that his God, does exist. But he won't. Because he can't. There's a reason he can't make that claim, because he knows he cannot prove it.
We're not here tonight to debate the social impact of religion, or Old Testament ethics, or biblical inerrancy. All interesting and important topics, no doubt, but not the subject of tonight's debate.
I don't see how we could possibly skip by these things when discussing the existence of God is informed by a book which can err. I may be surprised, though. After all, I can leave all that out if you do the same.
Number 1, the cosmological argument. The question of why anything at all exists is the most profound question of philosophy.
Why seems to imply intent. How explains content. Science attempts to understand the how.
Philosophically, the idea of an infinite past seems absurd. Just think about it. If the universe never began to exist, that means that the number of past events in the history of the universe is infinite. What is infinity minus infinity?
Well, in logical terms, infinity minus infinity equals 0. Invoking math to assert that something is absurd is itself absurd when you talk about unreal numbers like infinity.
Well, mathematically, you get self-contradictory answers. This shows that infinity is just an idea in your mind, not something that exists in reality.
This shows that infinity is something that exists in your mind, not in reality. Well, I'm glad you could say that, Bill. But did you really just claim infinity doesn't exist in reality? Okay, if infinity does exist, does that mean God doesn't exist?
In one of the most startling developments of modern science, we now have pretty strong evidence that the universe is not eternal in the past, but had an absolute beginning about 13 billion years ago in a cataclysmic event known as the Big Bang.
Not an infinite past, but an absolute beginning. Give me a frickin' break here. Absolute, that's such a disgusting word. People say absolute to mean from God. So it's just another way of saying, oh, because God did it. without, like, just a basic plain assertion, already assuming that it's from God without any sort of evidence at all, just defining it as from God. Hate that word.
For all matter and energy, even physical space and time themselves, came into being at the Big Bang.
Space and time came into being during the Big Bang. How can this be proven? We don't have any knowledge of anything before the Big Bang. All guesses or speculation of what was or wasn't before then is unsupported. I'll assume that you don't know how dishonest and misleading you're being, but keep it up and I'll strike you out.
There must have been a cause which brought the universe into being. Now, as the cause of space and time, this being must be an uncaused, timeless, spaceless, immaterial being of unfathomable power. Moreover, it must be personal as well. Why? Because the cause must be beyond space and time. Therefore, it cannot be physical or material.
There must have been a cause that brought the universe into being. As the cause of space and time, this being must be an uncaused, spaceless, timeless, immaterial being of unfathomable power. It must be personal as well, because it is beyond space and time. Therefore, it cannot be physical or material. Yeah, well, we can agree that if the universe had a beginning, that there must have been some trigger for that event. But the very next thing you do is assume and assert that this cause is a being based on zero evidence, to which you assign attributes based on zero evidence. That's a strike, Bill. I warned you.
Now, there are only two kinds of things that fit that description. Either an abstract object, like numbers, or else a personal mind.
An abstract object like numbers or a personal mind are outside of time and space. You are saying the two items which are beyond time and space are ideas and minds. First, prove that a mind is timeless before claiming that it's true. That's another strike. Stop being dishonest, Bill.
Therefore, it follows that the cause of the universe is a transcendent, intelligent mind. Thus, the cosmological argument gives us a personal creator of the universe.
Thus, the cosmological argument gives us a personal creator. You know, I should strike you out here, but I want to at least poke holes in your other argument first, so I'll pass.
2, the teleological argument. In recent decades, scientists have been stunned by the discovery that the initial conditions of the Big Bang were fine-tuned for the existence of intelligent life with a precision and delicacy that literally defy human comprehension. This fine-tuning is of two sorts. First, when the laws of nature are expressed as mathematical equations, you find appearing in them certain constants, like the gravitational constant. These constants are not determined by the laws of nature. Now, there are three possible explanations of this remarkable fine-tuning: physical necessity, chance, or design. Now, it can't be due to physical necessity because the constants and quantities are independent of the laws of nature.
It can't be due to physical necessity because the constants and quantities are independent of the laws of nature. Where is the proof of this? All this assertion equates to is that we don't know enough about how the universe works to form laws or to know if laws are even applicable to something so vast and alien.
In fact, string theory predicts that there are around 10 to the 500th power different possible universes consistent with nature's laws. So could the fine-tuning be due to chance? Well, the problem with this alternative is that the odds against the fine-tunings occurring by accident are so incomprehensibly great that they cannot be reasonably faced.
The odds of this occurring by accident are so incomprehensibly great that they cannot be reasonably faced. Considering the fact that life actually exists, I would say that the fine-tuning argument is just another distraction that is clung to because we don't yet have enough evidence to prove it wrong. What Bill is saying here is, according to math, it's nearly impossible for life on this planet to form naturally. So let's ignore the fact that it does exist, and there's no evidence detailing how it happened, as if nature would have signed the planet, hey, I nature did this, not any God.
The probability that all the constants and quantities would fall by chance alone into the infinitesimal life-permitting range is vanishingly small. We now know that life-prohibiting universes are vastly more probable than any life-permitting universe. So if the universe were the product of chance, the odds are overwhelming that it would be life-prohibiting. In order to rescue the alternative of chance, its proponents have therefore been forced to resort to a radical metaphysical hypothesis, namely that there exists an infinite number of randomly ordered, undetectable universes composing a sort of world ensemble or multiverse of which our universe is but a part. Somewhere in this infinite world ensemble, finely tuned universes will appear by chance alone, and we happen to be one such world. Now, wholly apart from the fact that there's no independent evidence that such a world ensemble even exists.
Just a note here. Bill is comfortable saying that there is no proof that the multiverse exists, even though there is publications and academics that hold it to be a possible causal explanation. So it is ridiculous and cannot be true. But he fails to carry over that same skepticism and apply it to religious ideals.
On atheism.
Oh, fuck. I can't stand that. People say that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't stand listening to this phrase, as it makes no sense. What the hell does on atheism mean? Atheism isn't a plate. It's not a plateau. It's not a step. It's not a floor. I don't understand why people are saying on atheism. If anything, it would be in atheism, right? Or under atheism, or on atheism doesn't make any damn sense. And the fact that the phrase doesn't make sense. Also, what you're trying to get out of it doesn't make any sense. Because on atheism doesn't have things. There's nothing in atheism other than the fact that if someone is an atheist, they are not convinced that a God exists. That's what atheism is. So, on atheism wholly doesn't make sense unless you're talking about the one claim of atheism is the claim that they're not convinced that a God exists. Come on.
On the atheistic view, then, an action like rape is not socially advantageous, and so in the course of human development has become taboo. But that does absolutely nothing to prove that rape is really morally wrong. On the atheistic view, there's nothing really wrong with raping someone.
On the atheistic view, an action like rape is not socially advantageous, and in the course of human social development is taboo. That does nothing to prove that rape is morally wrong. On the atheistic view, there is nothing saying it's wrong to rape someone. Again, the only atheistic view is that we do not believe in a God. We've gotten away from the chance argument and now get to hear that if we don't believe in God, we are immoral. For we have no absolute or divine origin of morality. This is one of the laziest and least reasonable arguments, in my opinion, as morality, like truth, is not contingent upon a God or religion, nor were morality or truth invented by religion. Yes, of course objective values exist, but objective does not equal God.
In the experiential context of seeing and hearing and feeling things, I naturally form the belief in a world of physical objects. And thus my beliefs are not arbitrary, but appropriately grounded in experience. They're not merely basic, but properly basic. In the same way, belief in God is for those who know Him a properly basic belief grounded in our experience of God.
Belief in God is for those who know Him a properly basic belief grounded in our experience of God. That's strike 3, Bill. You are intentionally being dishonest here, I believe. Circular argument much? Oh wait, of course you do. If you guys have any questions, comments, please leave them in the box that's for that. If you have anything you want to request or anything you want to bring up, please also do that there. I do check the messages, and I'm willing to engage. So, William Lane Craig, I'm not sure what else I can say about you. You just seem way more dishonest than you should be for someone who speaks as much as you do. And it's kind of amazing that anyone even believes your ass. But, it is what it is. My next video is going to be off topic of bad arguments. And instead, it's going to be my own arguments for morality and free will. So if you're interested in either of those topics, please take a look at the next video and tell me if you like it or don't like it. Either way, let me know what's up. Alright, thank you everybody. Have a good night.